Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of DTV, the Digital Transformation Channel. My name is Leila Modarres, and I am pleased today to bring you Sridhar Narayanan, who is the Head of Quality Engineering at Scholastic. Welcome to DTV, Sridhar.
Hi.
Let's talk a little bit about your role at some of the organizations that you've been at. You've been at companies in a QA capacity from Avaya to Weight Watchers and now Scholastic. So can you tell us a little bit about your role at some of these organizations?
So at Scholastic, I head quality engineering. We have a fantastic team of quality engineers. We are focusing on, again, all of us are focusing on delivering maximum product value. We want to make sure that the products we put out are high quality, they don't break, customers are pleased with them, they're extremely happy, they buy more of our books. So we focused on that. At Weight Watchers a few years ago, I was playing a similar role. I'd manage a team of engineers, leading them through digital transformation. Again, focused on delivering mobile applications, web applications, other applications in a similar kind of space.
We're in the midst of a transformation era, and the term, as you can imagine, digital transformation has been used in a variety of different spaces. There's many different interpretations of it. And what we're trying to do here on DTV is capture some of those different interpretations from industry experts such as yourself. So that being said, what is your own definition of digital transformation?
I think digital transformation in today's world, it means there's an expectation from customers, from internal customers, external customers, that an organization is able to consistently deliver, number one, features that are useful to the customers. Number two, these features are delivered frequently. People don't wait months or years to get them. They want them every week or every other week. The features look extremely easy, but internally they're super complex, especially for organizations who have been around for a long time. And they expect these applications and these features to be of extremely high quality. Nobody wants to deal with a broken product or something that doesn't quite work.
Right, that's exactly what it is. We're talking about companies like Weight Watchers that have been around for quite some time and have been evolving. And speaking of Weight Watchers, this is where you've spent over 10 years. Talk to us a little bit about how they've transformed and become the company that they are today. They're still thriving. Oprah is at the helm of that organization, one of their key spokespeople, very visible. So during your time there, what are some of the things that you may have done or incorporated on the back end or on the digital front to help them get to where they are today?
So Weight Watchers went through a very interesting path in the transformation, right? What looks like it's successful today was really a sequence of many transformations, not all of which were successful, right? And there were many that were attempted, failed, and they had to redo it again. But I think ultimately where they are today, they've succeeded, but it was a long journey. Right? The tech transformation by itself is challenging, right? When it's coupled with business transformation, that makes it even more interesting, more challenging. In a period of few years while I was there, the transformation there were changes in processes, there were changes in technologies, and changes in people. I estimate, probably a good chunk of the people that I used to work with were no longer there by the time the transformation was complete. Similarly, all the technologies that we put together, probably, again, a small fraction of the technologies remained when the transformation was complete.
And let's talk a little bit about the role of software testing in that whole definition. So why is it so important, and what has your experience been when it comes to software testing? What are the challenges you may have seen in the various companies where you've been leading that charge?
Today, there's a big mandate to change fast. There's a huge pressure to maintain quality. Again, there's instant feedback. There are customers on social media channels, on App Store, making instant, judgments on your product. Is it good? Is it bad? Those kind of judgments can easily make or break your company or your product, right? At the same time, you have teams who have tight testing budgets and again, not enough time to actually operate all the testing, execute all the testing you'd like to do, right? So to summarize, there's a big pressure to say, we want to deliver cool features. If a startup X next to us, they can do this, why can't we do that? Except that in your environment, given your data, given your history, given your baggage, it's extremely complex to accomplish what a startup could do because they have no baggage. The pressure to maintain high quality is still there. Nobody accepts poor quality. The teams are small, the budgets are tight, the cycles are fast. People expect you to get this done, get a new feature done in 2 weeks, deliver that, get the next set of features done in 2 weeks. So the time pressure is extremely high. Plus, consumers are basically taking your application in many different channels. You have Android mobile applications, you have iOS mobile applications. People want to do it on a desktop, on a laptop, on many different kinds of browsers. There are voice interfaces. People want to do it on your Apple TV, right? There's so many more channels that kind of explodes the amount of testing footprint that you have to deal with. But on the flip side, if you have an effective testing strategy, it can make people's lives so much more easier. It can make a development team's life so simple because now you have a safety net. They know that if they make a change, an automated test that can run pretty quickly can catch the feature before it breaks other things, can make sure the feature itself is implemented, right? So an automated regression suite can ensure that your quality can remain high and you can continue to delight your customers and deliver new features at the pace that the business and the customers want you to do that.
And I'm going to digress for a moment back on the testing side. Are you seeing automation and AI becoming a main part of the testing and QA process?
So I think AI is a little pervasive. Nobody comes to you and says, here's an AI product, right? But it's sort of, for example, right. There's an application like ThoughtSpot, which basically allows you to type natural language queries to query your database. Now the challenge there becomes, how do you know the results produced by ThoughtSpot are correct? How do you validate that against a real human or a SQL query that I used to have a report that delivered this data to me. Now I'm typing in a query to some browser. I get data, they aren't quite the same. How am I sure that I do have the right data that I'm supposed to report to the street tomorrow, right? Those kind of problems I think we still need to solve. So we see AI, but the kind of channels that come through to us are pretty pervasive, and we had to absorb and understand the problem in the context of it could be AI, it could be non-AI. We still need to understand what is the problem you're trying to solve and what kind of test can help prove that it is working correctly.
Yeah, and so there's a little ways to go to make that bulletproof. Definitely.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so what are some of the best practices that you have experience with testing that you can impart with some of the testers and developers watching this program? Any words of wisdom?
Some of the things that we've done, we've learned by experience for sure, right? One of the big aspects is we need to engage the quality teams early. I've seen project plans where the dev starts and then 3 months later the QA comes in, and that quite doesn't work well in today's world. The moment you start conceiving a product, the moment you have somebody talking about this is how something should work, you should have QA in the room to start talking about how it could go wrong, or start basically detailing out all of the potential scenarios that things could go right or things could go wrong, which informs the product owner, which informs the developers, which informs the engineering team that this is how we should build, or maybe we shouldn't go down this path, or maybe, right? So all of that thinking a QA team member can provide, and that should happen early in the game. So we strive in our organization. We strive to develop a common understanding of the problem and a common understanding of the solution. And this is worked well when we use BDD, behavior-driven development. Other teams call it acceptance test-driven development. In a sense, it is taking a problem or a concept from a product owner, breaking that out into scenarios and interactions, how different sets of customers will interact with a particular feature, and then creating acceptance tests based off of that. And we create automated tests that essentially validates that what the product owner had in mind is actually implemented as an automated test. So that is a huge part of how we ensure that the quality people get all of the automated tests right, and it helps the product quality. So this is supplemented with engineering practices. I think an acceptance test by itself is useful, but it needs to be supplemented with unit testing. We need to have lots of testing at the unit testing level, where we don't need specific QA acceptance tests to validate simple things like can I enter a negative number in a particular field, or when I multiply a couple of numbers, is it limited by a particular range? All of those simple tests can be covered by unit testing. It does not require acceptance testing. The other standard practices, we need to make sure we have good code coverage. We need to make sure that we're using a continuous integration platform. We need to make sure that if the team demands it, there may be continuous delivery platform if you can afford it, right? How do we prevent defects from happening? By thinking through all of the potential things that can go wrong.
Exactly.
Do you do root cause analysis, right? When something does go wrong, how do you essentially take a look at what went wrong and fix it so that mistake doesn't happen again? So all of these practices are huge. There are a couple of other foundational practices which are very important, especially if you're developing a new product. Are you performance testing? Again, because a lot of people don't think about it, but if your product is suddenly successful and you have 1,000 people use it, and if it breaks down or your servers go down, then that's not quite a good user experience, right? In today's world of data breaches, are we doing security testing? Are you doing penetration testing? Are your products built to monitor themselves, to send alerts when things go wrong? And when things do go wrong, are you set up to fix a problem and so that customers don't have much of a blip in their expectation of the product?
And is testing now part of the development process, or are you considering it as two different phases? More specifically, what we're seeing is companies merging the two, known as sort of the shift left approach, which I'm sure you've heard of.
The way it really works for us is to have the testers in on day one, understand the application, understand the feature, and essentially start writing your test scenarios on day one. Even before code is written, we have test scenarios that are written. And test scenarios allow developers, the product owners, all to understand, what is the expected behavior at a detailed level. In a sense, we begin testing a story even before a line of code is written, because we are thinking through all of the tests. And that's a huge aspect of when we start testing, because we can test a story, and that is extremely inexpensive compared to building a product and then running a test.
So switching for a moment to the publishing space, and that's where you are right now, another industry that's been around for quite some time and that has evolved significantly through the digital era. In fact, publishing, as I recall, carrying all those heavy textbooks around, in elementary school and in high school, and that's probably why most of us in this day and age have back problems. But now today you have iPads, you have cell phones, and it's gone through a huge transformation, both from that perspective as far as UI. So can you tell us a little bit about how this industry has transformed over the years to become the digital entity that it is today, and some of the observations and experiences that you've had in the publishing space?
At Scholastic, we think about it in a couple of different ways. There are very young children who are not very well served by purely electronic means of delivery. I think they love paper, their parents love paper, they love pictures, they love touching it, they love the sensory feel of the books. I think that's a big part of our audience, and we still strive to serve that audience by delivering the product that they want. In digital technology, in a way, it supplements that very well. We give them products that, for example, allows us to sell the books that they want, allows them to deliver books faster, allows us to create new series of books, allows us to take the same books and deliver that via, for example, Alexa or a voice channel, or deliver that through an app. We create software products that match books along with the digital delivery, so kids can see, hey, how does a physical book look in the real world, and how is it transformed to a story or an extension of the same story in the digital space. So all of these are for us experiments where we can help kids read and help them transform from a real world experience into the digital experience. I think that puts them on a solid footing.
Thank you so much for your time. Very illuminating, and we look forward to working more with you. If you're passionate about digital transformation and have something to say, we'd love to have you on our show. Please email us at dtv@infostretch.com, and we'll see you next time.
I want my DTV!